When the sounds come together so close to my face, it's no wonder we wonder what's taking place. Oh, I feel like an animal in the night. Play it right, play it right.
Contra Meritocracy, considerations of meritocracy in general, specifics as regards the notion of meritocracy in relation to performance, value, and economics. Readers ought to utilize the following outline as a thinking tool. These are many of the key points in the piece, here summarized but not really argued for, save for one. Moneyless free labor societies can be understood by applying the points in the summary to the everyday lives of people, the actual state of things, to get a sense of the reality of the absurdities in life, the problems thereof, and hence a sense of the motivation towards handling them, as well as a sense of where moneyless free labor societies is coming from. The piece as a whole is broadly removing the tool of money and radically reducing the role of politics, and noting what is present within the species systems with these kinds of concerns in mind. Folks would also do well to, with caution and not panic, note the recent real-world experiment of a similar kind of occurrence that was the pandemic of 2020, whereby much of the utter absurdities, issues, etc., in the current were exposed relative to the naked reality caused by, in essence, a kind of existential dread. 1. Good enough solutions are reached. Among the fundamental arguments for a meritocracy are that it will tend to produce better outcomes within a given state. This regardless of the state we are concerning ourselves with. In terms of athletics, a meritocracy holds that a system that is designed to select for merit will tend to produce better athletes and hence better athleticism. In terms of the various crafts, a system designed to select for merit will tend to produce better craftspeople, and hence better crafted goods, and so on. Within this theory we can already see certain limits associated with it, namely, that people as such are the drivers of any degree of betterment of the things in question. Likewise, there is a limit in terms of tools utilized to the creation of these goods, and indeed, these betterments. It's something of a truism that a craftsperson is only as good as their tools. We can of course create better tools, but this too has as its limit that of the craftspersons of the tools. A craftsperson of tools, after all, cannot create better tools than the craftsperson themselves are capable of creating. We could ponder the possibility of the tools themselves creating better tools, such is perhaps worth considering. However, the most obvious concern therein is, do we thereby negate ourselves in the process of doing so? I saw an ad the other day, for example, that spoke of an AI that could write. As a writer, I could utilize that tool in order to write, but then, of course, I would no longer be a writer. At least insofar as I would have the AI do the writing. Perhaps, as I do here, I may utilize the AI as a writing tool whereby I still am the writer. Which begs the question, do we really want to make ourselves obsolete? We may very well hold that doing so is rather pointless to human life, and may therefore pose itself as a limit regarding when are good enough solutions reached. That is, one answer to that question may very well be, in all pragmatics, assuming we want to bother continuing this species, good enough solutions are reached within a meritocracy if and when it is the case that we are no longer participating within the systems we create. Other kinds of answers to this question are entailed within the various limits a meritocracy implies, e.g. a good enough solution is reached when a system is about to produce excellent athletes, excellent craftspersons, and so on. Interestingly enough, those same kinds of concerns regarding automation of systems apply to every other field of human endeavor. Good enough solutions may be reached when the craftsperson is no longer really capable of being a craftsperson. When, in other words, say, industrial processes take over the capacities of the craftsperson. This poses fairly fundamental questions regarding the nature of our species, meritocracy as a concept of worth, and what kind of value we are really speaking of when we speak of the value of life at all. We may envision, in other words, a society wherein the tools themselves create themselves, maintain themselves, and do little but service us, such that the species is essentially free from any labor that we do not want to do. There are fairly critical questions about such an envisioned society regarding pragmatics, costs associated with it, etc., such as are there even the raw materials to do so? Are there raw materials to do so in a sustainable manner? How much degradation to our planet would it cause? Would the degradation to our planet be so great that it becomes uninhabitable? These kinds of questions are rather disturbingly real in terms of concerns. There are other less tangible concerns worth considering, such as would the machines really serve us? What kind of horrors may a machine-like systemization really create of its own accord? There are better still questions to be asked though, assuming that we were to manage to create such a place without the degradation of the planet in a sustainable manner, without the robot rebellion, and so forth, is that a life people would want to live? What would we even do in that instance? 1a. When a system produces pointless and absurd consequences, we may demarcate such as indicative of good enough solutions. Although I don't want to delve too deeply into this here, see the Amateur Philosophy website for such deeper delvings into the darker, more mysterious places of concern. I shall note that such constitutes the rather basic concerns regarding consistency of reality, that reality not be utterly absurd, or, insofar as it may be utterly absurd, we may prefer that there be demarcations within it whereby such absurdities do not hold sway. 2. Consequences of meritocracy. 2a. Iterative violence. 2ai, wherein whatever the field of consequent, the battle continues indefinitely. 2aii, definition of system issues, that which occurs through iteration of a given system, but which is not necessarily apparent at any given iteration of the system. 2b. Few winners, many losers. 3. Relation to ecosystems. 3a. Detachment from the ecosystems. 3b. Non-local utilization of ecosystems. 3c. Degradation of existing fundamental systems of life. 3d. Movement of goods without cause. 4. Self-referential merit. 4a. Merit is determined by self-referential systems, e.g. people refer to merit as what they themselves determine as merit. Authority determines authority. 4b. Inherent cultural bias. What constitutes successful is relative to a given cultural modality of life. 4c. Dependence upon the modality of determination of success, most relevantly in the current economic success. 4ci. Economic success is largely illusory in its form. Aims of wealth are already available without economic success attached, e.g. basic familial form living. 4cii. False attribution of value, e.g. manufactured value with little connectivity to the reality of lives, ethics, etc. 4cii. Performance of suffering as a norm. The pretense that there is some requirement to suffer before achievement. 5. Structural loss of familial form. Devotion to the meritocracy entails lack of devotion to the familial form as such. Considered at its basic root, time spent struggling for the supposed goods of wealth, success, etc., is time not spent within the reality of the familial form. 5a. Though not argued for here, I'd strongly invite folks to read in particular Plato's Republic, to get at least a cursory sense of the role of a meritocracy, and the entirety of Plato's works to get a strong sense of what is meant by a meritocracy, and indeed, of a republic. If folks are going to repudiate or defend these kinds of notions, it would be worthwhile that they are at least coming at it from a perspective of understanding regarding the foundational form of the position. 6. Modeling economics as that which occurs beyond the basics of life, rethinking what economics can do. 7. The question of labor. 7a. To what extent will people work beyond that which is required to produce the base goods and services available? 7b. To what extent will people's work be improved through competition?
What do you say?